Hi, my name is Katarina Sullivan and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a while and you're gonna have to forgive me for that, but I promise you will forgive me when we start talking about today's topic, which is part 4 of how the Australian political system works. We had a bit of a sabbatical from this to focus on the election videos, but we're back and we're talking about the Prime Minister today. So the last video we did on how the Australian political system works, we covered a whole lot of topics, and one of them is how the Prime Minister is chosen. So we're just going to do a bit of a recap on how that actually works. So obviously 2 chambers, lower house and upper house, also known as House of Representatives and Senate. The House of Representatives now have 151 seats because we added an extra one in Canberra because we're special. So of course, to win government, one of the parties has to have the most seats in the House of Representatives. To win a majority government, that government has to have over half, which means 76 seats. Because maths, 76 seats would do a majority government, anything less would be a minority government for the party that forms government. I said government a lot of times in a row just then. Let's put it this way. It's not like a formal vote in the House that we now, take a ballot and see who wants the Prime Minister. Basically, the party chooses a leader. The coalition, the leader is, I nearly said Malcolm Turnbull. I still can't get out of my head Malcolm Turnbull. Scott Morrison. The party chooses Scott Morrison to lead. That's the Liberal Party. Of course, the Liberal Party in the coalition, which is made up of the Liberal Party, the National Party, the Liberal National Party of Queensland, and the Country Liberal Party. The Liberal Party is the leader of the coalition, so then the leader of the Liberal Party is the leader of the coalition, and then Labor chooses their leader. We are never at any point voting for a Prime Minister. We are voting for a party to lead us. So unless you live in the electorate of the Prime Minister, you will not see the Prime Minister's name on the ballot paper. Or if you live in the electorate of the Leader of the Opposition, you will never see the Leader of the Opposition's name on the ballot paper. You will see party names and people that are standing for that party. So it's a really important distinction to make, because when people are like, I didn't vote for this Prime Minister, why are they in here? It's like, no, you voted for the party and then the party chooses the leader. That happens usually before the election. And then once the election happens, like, well, we chose this leader, we told you all that we chose him, and now he's leading us, so don't act shocked when you're like, it's Scott Morrison, because we all knew going into the election that if you voted for the Liberal Party, you'd get Scott Morrison. The part where it does get kind of shocking is when they're like, lol, jokes, we told you it was going to be Scott Morrison, but guess what, we're going to have a leadership spill. I'm hoping that we don't have another leadership spill. Please, let's have stable governance. Please, please, please. So the members of the House of Representatives, in a way, vote for who's going to be the Prime Minister. So if there are 76 or more members of the coalition in the House of Representatives, then they're making the decision. Let's say, for argument's sake, that at the election there were 75 seats that were won by the coalition and 75 seats that were won by Labor, and 1 seat that was won by an independent. That independent would then either choose to side with the coalition or with Labor, and whoever they sided with would be sort of like a vote for which person they would like to see lead the country. Then that party would form minority government. Why does this need to be explained like this? Because the people of Australia don't choose the Prime Minister. The Governor General chooses the Prime Minister based on what the Parliament has decided. Kind of confusing, especially when you find out that the Prime Minister chooses the Governor General. It's a little weird. So I think it's a really important distinction to make that the Governor General chooses the Prime Minister based on what the House of Representatives advise. On election night, there's no actual people sitting in a room voting, we want this person to be the Prime Minister. Obviously, if the coalition has chosen that person to be the leader and the coalition wins, then that person becomes Prime Minister. Another really weird fact about the Prime Minister, which might just confuse you more because it confuses me, is that the Prime Minister is not mentioned in the Constitution. So constitutionally, we don't need to have a Prime Minister, but we also follow the Westminster Convention in politics, and the Westminster Convention talks about a prime minister. Now, when we talk about prime minister, we think prime, which is number one, like Optimus Prime. Gosh, I'm a nerd. So we think prime number one, you talk about the prime of your life, you talk about being a prime suspect. Probably not the right analogy for when I'm talking about politics. But prime, we talk about being the best or top or number one. So when you have a prime minister, and we've spoken before about the fact that we have different ministers, minister for multicultural affairs, minister for energy, minister for environment, minister for indigenous affairs, minister for like everything, minister for dust, that doesn't exist. Basically anything that you can think of, there is a minister for it, or it falls under a ministerial portfolio. The prime minister is like the top minister that binds all the ministers. Any of my Lord of the Rings fans out here, I can't believe I'm actually using this analogy, but it just came to me, like, one ring to rule them all, one ring to bind them. I also don't want to compare the Prime Minister to the Ring of Sauron, but that's happening. All the different ministers underneath, which are the rings that went to the elves and the dwarves and men, and then the Prime Minister is the one ring that rules them all, the one ring that binds them. Guys, help me! Why am I such a nerd? But if you're into Lord of the Rings, you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Also ignore the fact that I just compared the leader of Australia to the Dark Lord. Probably could have had a better analogy, but here we are. So the Prime Minister rules over Parliament. They also have the duty of ruling over the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. So we spoke about before the legislature arm, the executive arm and the judicial arm of government. The Prime Minister is in the legislature arm, and then the executive arm, we have Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. And so the Prime Minister works with that department. So that's why the legislature and the executive sort of work together. I'm doing like hot potato from the Wiggles now. The Prime Minister also has a really ceremonial role as well. So sometimes you'll see the Prime Minister off gallivanting, doing fancy ceremonial things, and people are like, why is he not doing his job? My taxpayer dollars are paying for this. I get it. You want to see the Prime Minister making decisions, but it's also really important to be promoting the Australian way of life, our culture, our people that are doing great things. So sometimes the Prime Minister gives out awards. Sometimes you'll see the Prime Minister at sporting matches. There's been times where they've jumped on commentating the cricket. Scott Morrison ran drinks last year at the Prime Minister's 11, and I put it on social media because I was at the cricket match and I was like, this is awesome that we have a Prime Minister running drinks for the Australian cricket team, or the Prime Minister's 11 cricket team. Not the same. Important distinction for cricket nerds. I put it on my Instagram story and so many people were so triggered. They're like, what's he doing? He should be running the country. And I'm like, guys, this is a really important part of his job. It's promoting Australian sport, especially because the Prime Minister's 11 have some up and coming players that we want to see get to the next stage of cricket, especially there are a couple from ACT, Canberra represent. That's a big thing that he should be doing, or she. We've only ever had one female Prime Minister, and I really hope that we have another. It would be great to see more women in Parliament. And it would be great to see another female Prime Minister. Just a random piece of information for anyone that wants to write my birthday down and maybe, I don't know, send me a birthday present this year. But my birthday is the 24th of August, and that is the last time we had a leadership spill in Australian Parliament, and I actually thought Julie Bishop would win and she didn't, and I was sad. Some other random facts about Prime Ministers. Currently, the Australian Prime Minister earns $550,000 a year. He has two residences. One is the Lodge in Canberra, which is actually right around the corner from my house, and I drive past it every time I go to Woden, if anyone knows where that is. And I'm like, hey man, what's up? I don't actually say that. He also has a resident at Kirribilli House in Sydney, and he has his own car and plane and other cool stuff that happens to him because he's Prime Minister, and that comes with responsibility. Another cool fact about, I say cool fact, all of y'all are probably sitting there like, wow, these are super lame facts. I can't believe you think this is exciting, but I love politics. So another cool fact is that a Prime Minister, according to the Westminster Convention, cannot be a senator. And we've only had one instance in history where this has caused a problem. Many people who were around at the time or are interested in politics will know about Harold Holt, who went swimming, and after 2 days of him not returning, they presumed that he drowned. The deputy leader had to step up and take the Prime Minister role. Then there was a leadership spill. So leadership spills have been happening forever. They're just happening more regularly now. John Gorton, who was a senator at the time, actually put his hand up for leadership and won. And so he had to then real quick like sort his life out, run in the by-election, which is an election that happens only in sometimes one or a few electorates in between elections because something happens, like someone's had to resign. So he ran in the by-election after he resigned. I think he resigned on like the 1st of February and the by-election was like the 25th of February. Those dates might be totally wrong. I might be making them up. He had to resign as a senator and then run the by-election, which was a really safe Liberal seat. And he won and then obviously became Prime Minister. Speaking of safe seats, there's another really important point to make. Most leaders of the party will reside in what's considered a safe seat. So they consistently get the majority of the vote in that seat at election time. There's been two instances in history, and one was actually with John Howard, who many of you will remember because he only finished his term in 2007, that the 2007 election, not only did Liberal lose government, or the coalition lose government to Labour, led by Kevin Rudd at the time, but John Howard actually lost his seat. So he didn't go back into the House of Representatives at all. He was just bye. Which is sad because he's the second longest serving Prime Minister. He served for 11 years. The longest serving Prime Minister was Sir Robert Menzies, who served for 18 and a half years, and he was the founder of the Liberal Party. And he led over 2 separate terms. It wasn't 18 and a half years straight. Another important point about the Prime Minister is that there is no set maximum term. So every Prime Minister is voted in, obviously, for the length of the House of Representatives sitting, which is about 3 years, give or take. Prime Minister will be the leader for that period. They can get re-elected over and over again. They can get elected for another 40 years. If people believe in them and if their party stays behind them, that's a thing. It's not like in America where there's a 4-year term and you're done. Like, you can't run again. Is it a good thing? Yes and no. I feel like politicians tend to know when their time is up, and if they don't and they go for another term, then the Australian people let the politicians know that their term is up. Sir Edmund Barton was Australia's first Prime Minister, who was appointed on the 1st of January 1901, which is Federation Day. I'm just trying to think of like random facts to throw at you now that I know about Prime Ministers. This is all off the top of my head. I really should get a better pastime than just memorizing random facts about Prime Ministers. What do normal people do other than politics? Do people go outside? The Prime Minister also has a Deputy Prime Minister. In the case of the coalition, the Prime Minister is the leader of the Liberal Party and the Deputy Prime Minister is the leader of the National Party. In Labour, both the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister come from Labour because they do not have a coalition with another party. I think another really important point is to note that the Prime Minister is the head of government. It does not mean the Prime Minister is the head of state. The head of state is the Queen Elizabeth II. They are 2 different functions. In a lot of countries, you will see that there is a Prime Minister and a President, and they're countries that have formed republics. In Australia, we have the Prime Minister as our head of government, and then the Queen is our head of state because we are not a republic. We're still part of the Commonwealth. It's a really important point to make because it also helps you understand why the Governor General appoints the Prime Minister and not the people. The Queen essentially chooses, because the Governor General is just the person that acts on behalf of the Queen in Australia. And the Queen essentially makes the decision on who the Prime Minister is going to be via the Governor General. It's really important that you understand we do not vote for our Prime Minister, we vote for our leading party. And then that leading party or group of parties, in the case of the coalition, votes for the leader of the House of Representatives, which is the Prime Minister. I'm honestly so happy to be back doing these videos. If you have any questions or comments about what's been covered in this video, please feel free to comment below or follow me on my social media platforms. I've also added in the description a link to my podcast where I sit down and chat to politicians from all across Australia about their life in politics. So if you want to get a deeper understanding of how the Australian political system works through the eyes of a politician, go ahead and take a listen to Politics Done Differently. Unfortunately, we are yet to have the Prime Minister on the show, but if you really want to see him on Politics Done Differently, just send him an email and be like, hey, Kat says what's up, and join her on the show. Don't say it like that because he's going to be like, why are cats talking to me? But yeah, feel free to contact him on my behalf. But we do have some other awesome politicians from federal parliament on the show, so you can have a listen to them. We have some ministers, some shadow ministers, some people from ACT government, WA government, local government. It's pretty cool. It's a cool place to hang out with politicians. And we keep all of the jargon out of it. We're super chillaxed. Anyone who says chillaxed is a horrible person, and I just said it. Does that make me a horrible person? Please follow me on social media. Please feel free to reach out and contact me with any questions, or like if you have a topic you want me to cover about Australian politics, let me know. I'm going to look into doing recaps of what's happened in Parliament, because obviously Tuesday was the first sitting day for 2020. I was in Parliament yesterday, Friday, with committee hearings and things like that. So we've got some stuff that's happening in Parliament House at the moment, and I would like to bring that information to you, the people of YouTube, about what's going on in that crazy building up on the hill there. That's sort of the plan. I say sort of because who knows. If you want a specific topic covered, just HMU. And otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe and share the video and do all the fun things that people do to educate other people about important topics such as politics. I love you guys. I'm so glad I'm back. Have a good one.